It says record. Okay, we're going.
Good evening, everyone. I'll call this Board of Aldermen meeting to order. If you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Alderman Bowman.
Present.
Alderman Bachman. Here. Alderman Reese. Here. Alderman Milner.
Present.
Alderman Dickerson.
Here.
Alderman Long.
Here.
Alderman Turner.
Here.
Alderman Leveson is absent. And Mayor Hassett.
Here, and we do have a quorum. Good evening, everyone. Alderman Leveson did contact me. She may be a little bit late. She had a function with one of her children at school, but said that it was moving faster than she thought. She would try to be here, but I said, well, we may or may not be here when you get here, so we will move on. We have no ceremonial matters this evening, so at this time I'll open the floor to public participation. Anybody who has anything to bring before the board that is not on our scheduled agenda, please feel free. Seeing no one, I'm going to close public participation, move on to the approval of minutes. First, we have the minutes from our regular meeting of November 19th, 2018.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Milner. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Next, you should have a copy of the executive minutes from November 19th, 2018.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long for approval. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question about that. I know that city clerk is passing those out and asking each of us to sign those and return those to the city clerk. Randy, is that happening? Are people signing those executive committee?
They don't need to be signed. I just am recording that they're returned and then I destroy it.
And are people returning them to you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah, he collects them before the meeting's over. I do sign the copy that I have since it goes in the record.
Right.
So, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Moving on to our agenda items. First tonight, we have an appointment to the Board of Zoning Adjustments. Gerald Saline has volunteered to take one of our empty seats vacated by Mr. DeBraw. Should have a copy, shouldn't he?
Yeah, we didn't get a copy of his application until late Friday, so you should see it at your seats. Did we put it out?
Yes.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second. A motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long for approval. Is there any further discussion?
Just a note, his last name is Salem.
Saline with a G, correct?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Fills the seat good. Next item is our December 17th meeting. We initially discussed not having this meeting. However, Mr. Welch does have something that came up that may require a meeting of some type. We don't necessarily have to have it on the 17th, but I'll let him explain what that is.
So this came up and we had a meeting today between the cities. The Emergency Services Board is a group that we belong to get our emergency radios, actually all of our radios, for public works and for emergency services. The ESB had a meeting last month, a couple weeks ago, and at the end of the meeting, the very last item before they adjourned, one of the members presented a motion to have the ESB begin work on collecting information, signing engineers up, and finding property for a building to go in for a central dispatch office. And the reason that the cities are interested is that we have a dispatch center ourselves, as does Pleasant Hill, Raymore, Belton, and the sheriff's office. And the issue is where are they going to get the money? How are they going to spend it? They had a survey done 8 months ago from a group that surveyed all of the dispatch points, talked to all of the members, all those that are involved in ESB, and talked to all those that have PSAPs, public service access points, public safety access points. And that survey came back saying that things were in decent shape. There are things that can be done to make it better, but that the cost of building a single spot or putting a central dispatch in is expensive. And how is it gonna be paid for? So we wanted to get together to discuss a little bit of strategy, but it's not to the point where it would be a legal issue that we would go to closed session. But what we need to do, what we feel, what I feel, and what the rest of the administrators talked about is going back to their boards and councils and seeing if you will authorize us to send a letter stating that we don't think this is a good idea to move forward with. That there is no information that shows what the cost is gonna be, where the property would be, where they would have the dispatch located, where they would have the backup dispatch located. And there's a lot of issues that really weren't ever covered at this meeting. It was just kind of brought out, we just need to do this. And there were some members that weren't there that might have voted against it. So what they've done is they've put it on the December 19th meeting. We all want to get letters to them prior to that, saying that we don't think this should move forward in the strongest terms possible, but we didn't have time to put things together to put it on the agenda for ourselves. We're the first group meeting on this. I think Raymore meets tonight, but they had a chance to review it before we had a chance to look at it and hear what everybody had to say about it.
Who's driving the effort?
That's what I wanted to.
It's, I believe it's the fire chief up in Belton. There are there's 8 members on the ESB, and there's 4 members that want it, 4 members that don't. 2 of the members that don't weren't there, so then it was brought forward. I don't remember exactly what his name is.
So it's an 8-member board, 4 are in favor, 4 are against. The ones that were against, only 2 of those were present. But this all has just come up, just,
Because what happened was, and I know we've talked about this, you can't just bring something to a meeting and say, let's vote on doing
Right,
this.
right.
You gotta put it on the agenda. So they were cautioned at that meeting that you can't do that. So now what they've done is they've postponed it until the December 19th meeting.
Abby, you said that was the Belton Fire Chief?
I believe it is.
Isn't Belton still involved in the consolidation of, I mean, weren't they checking into consolidating districts with Grandview and Raymore and, I mean, that whole thing?
They might be, but I'm not
Well,
aware.
I mean, if they're in that consolidation with our districts, they would want a central located dispatch, but.
Well, for us,
Us.
with ours, our 2 chiefs communicate well, we have a central dispatch point. It really, I mean, even regardless what the other cities thought, for Harrisonville, the way we have it, it works great, and I don't think it's anything that would be good for us to be part of, so.
Right, but I mean, Belton's involved in part of a consolidation district.
Right, right.
And so that makes sense.
So basically,
Not us.
what we need is we need to have a meeting to have a short discussion, and I assume it'd be a resolution we would need to pass, which means we'd need at least 5 for a quorum. So, you know, the original meeting slated for December 17th. This would be the only item we would discuss. It would be probably a 10 or 15-minute meeting. I don't see this taking a long time to go through, especially if you had the info before. My recommendation was maybe next Monday, open to anything. I'm just saying when I thought, you know, do it next week, get it done with before we get closer to Christmas. It would be the only thing on the agenda. Just depends on I don't know what everybody has on their plate. So I'm open pretty much any night, so.
I'm good on Monday.
You want to do all that?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I don't know what everybody else has got. but-
That's all we're gonna do. I've been getting it over, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Let me ask another question if I may. So, who's against?
Cities don't want to do it because we
That aren't
don't
interested,
see,
I should say.
we don't see that as being a cost-saving measure. If you can provide it at equal or lesser value, or equal or lesser cost, and provide the same service, yeah, we'd be on board, but we don't see how that can happen.
So it would be us and,
Us-
who agreed with you? I
Us,
should ask.
it was us, Belton, Raymore, Pleasant Hill, and Sheriff's Office.
as far as the cities are concerned.
Those are-
No, who was
those-
not in favor of?
Oh, what
That was
board
my
mem- what
question.
board
Yeah.
members?
What other cities were not
Well,
necessarily in
they're
favor?
members, I don't know what cities.
I think they're representatives of different departments.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
not
Not
sure.
necessarily by city.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that may be something I can come up with next week, but that's, I'm not sure
Mhm.
who's.
But essentially, the other cities, the cities he mentioned, have communicated with each other and said, hey, none of us
Yeah.
think this is a good idea, so we're kind of taking a united front of,
Yeah.
you know, again, if we thought it was a good deal for us, a better deal, even regardless of what the others thought, obviously, we would
Just-
entertain that.
And that's
But
what I was gonna say.
from our standpoint, we don't see it being a good deal
So
for
at that point,
Harrisonville.
if it moves forward, is it something we can pull out of? Is that something that's even a thought?
I would say no, because we get our equipment from the ESB and cooperate that way. I just don't, what I see is the city saying, for us, we have a problem because we use our dispatch center for electric outages. Nobody else has that kind of issue. And I don't know how we would then
Yeah.
work that. And there's also the issue of keeping people on to be able to answer the front door at the police department.
Mhm.
Or do you answer any issues? And if there was a power outage, who are they gonna call? What are we gonna spend then to have somebody answer those calls?
Well, if they're gonna do it anyway, whether we say no or not, unless if we're gonna be involved in it, if,
Howdy.
That's only if that board, right now, there's the 4 that voted in favor, and then there was 2 that were against. So obviously, you've already got 2. The other 2, from what we gather, don't think it's a good idea, especially if all the cities have sent letters with resolutions saying we do not support this move. I don't see the other 2 members saying, oh yeah, we wanna ram this through.
I'm just gonna say, if we have a meeting and we vote against it, and still the outcome becomes the same.
That's my question.
We've sit there and just wasted our.
But, well, if we
no,
do
not
nothing, we
necessarily.
can't, if we do nothing though, then it sounds like, oh, Harrisonville doesn't care
Yeah.
that if we do this.
Oh, okay.
We need to send something, we need to send a message of what we want, whether it's, yes, we agree with this, we think that's a good idea, or no, we think it's a bad idea, and right now our recommendation is, no, this is a bad idea. We are not in favor of this, do not support this, and,
Well, how can anybody make a qualified decision with no more information?
Without
Mhm.
any details.
I mean, I don't understand how anybody can make a decision based on the little bit of.
from what we gather, it was something they realized there was an advantage, so they thought, oh,
Yeah,
we'll
at the
just
end
do
of the
this, and
year, probably,
they
yeah.
didn't realize they can't do that, so.
Right, right.
It's probably at the end of the year, probably everybody's not wanting to have their second meeting.
But they meet December 19th, so that was another reason I thought if we did it a week early, that gives staff more time to get the letter and get it sent. Otherwise, it's, we gotta get it done and
Where do they
So can we,
meet at?
oh, I'm sorry.
Where's the meeting at?
It's going to be at the Justice Center. Usually it's at Stafford and Stafford. But due to this item being on the meeting that they had intended not having this month, but they're gonna have it out at the, there's, I guess, a community room at the Justice Center.
7? 6?
I don't know yet. I think
Happy,
it's a daytime meeting.
is the city, and I haven't looked at this from a legal standpoint, but is the city bound by some state law that you have to support financially a decision made by this board? I mean, I have a question about whether, if some members wanna do it, they might be able to do it, but I question whether or not they can force the city of Harrisonville, without this board agreeing, to financially support it.
That's a
And-
good point.
Right, and there are contracts with the MARS system and with the ESB that I've looked at, and I don't think they've talked about throwing the switch to turn us off, because they want to push the issue forward. And it's like, I don't think you can do that, and I think it's the same thing there. Now, the finance is paid by a half-cent sales tax, which rolls back to an 1/8 cent next May, unless they go into debt. If they incur debt, then it stays at a half-cent.
in debt to build
Mm-hmm.
to put in
To put in a central dispatch.
central dispatch, yeah.
In other words,
Oh, it's like a little bit
Oh.
clearer.
so I wasn't trying to
The
get into all
light
these
goes on.
details, but.
These are the details that will come out, yeah, so no matter what, we need to have a meeting,
Right.
a second meeting, and so, like I said, the 17th is just a few days before the other board meets. I think we'd be better off if we could do this ahead of time. And I just wanted to see who's available. If we had enough available, great, if we don't, we'll.
So are we going to then make a decision tonight to create a resolution that says we're not interested?
That's what we would essentially,
Do
we'd
it
essentially
then.
bring one forward.
Okay.
We obviously can't pass anything tonight because we didn't advertise, but it will be,
Yeah.
we're going to bring one to discuss at whatever date. So basically what we need is a date to set, and then you know now what we'll discuss.
So we're not on any time frame as far as when we can meet again. I mean, we could meet
Anytime between now and the 19th, I mean, whatever works.
whatever works for everyone.
Well, you gotta have time to advertise it, so.
Whatever you guys decide, I'll be.
We had nothing on the agenda for Monday. Monday's open. Again, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm available anytime. I'm not going anywhere, so I'll
Has
be
anybody got anything, Linda?
Oh, good.
I can work Monday.
1, 2, 3, 4. So we got enough, so,
Do
okay.
we wanna wait till 7, or do we wanna?
Is there an issue with if we went at 6, or,
You're setting a special meeting, I think as long as you advertise.
I'll say we set it for 6 then. If it's a special meeting, does that work for
As long
everyone?
as that works for everybody, let's do it.
I know it's a little tough.
Next Monday at 6.
So that way you guys can get out.
I think, I was gonna say we'd have enough if you didn't,
The 10th.
I'll be here at 10 after.
Okay. No,
Well, and like you said, we only need 5 people anyway, so.
Just need a quorum if
it works
everybody's-
where you can't get out,
Yeah.
then
Okay.
it's not gonna do that for you.
All right, so we need a vote or anything, or is it just a,
Yeah, I would
You wanna
vote
have a
to, I would vote to have the meeting on the 10th, and I would vote to not have the meeting on the 17th.
Okay.
so I do that all with one vote?
I think so.
Okay, so I need a motion to,
I make a motion to have a meeting.
oh, did you, Matt had something to
That's
add?
all right.
No, what'd you have? Did you have something?
Nah, we can do it.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion to have our special meeting next Monday, the 10th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Instead of.
And-
Instead of the 17th,
And no meeting, no
No
regular
meeting
meeting on the 17th?
on the
Okay.
17th.
Okay, so the motion is, we will have a special meeting on Monday, December 10th, at 6 o'clock, and we will cancel our regularly scheduled meeting for Monday, December 17th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Milner. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we will meet Monday.
And I will be here unless I have a new grandbaby, so.
Well, that might be.
Well, that would be cool.
That, if I don't show up, that's why.
All right,
Cool reason.
all
I
right.
got one of them coming too.
You do? When?
End of December, beginning of January, they keep changing. the
Yes,
date.
that's where we're at too, supposedly the 29th, but,
Okay.
oh,
Back,
that way we have.
back, yeah, you're diverging, sorry.
Sorry about
Yeah, next item is not grandbabies, it's the emergency services and utility account write-offs. Not nearly as much fun to talk about.
No, not nearly as much.
Good morning, Mayor, good morning, yeah.
Good morning, all right.
Wow, we've been here a long
Been
time.
here an awful long time. Good evening, Mayor and Board. This is planned to be an annual event. The way I understand it, there's not been any emergency services write-offs or utility write-offs for a number of years. So we've gone through and done an analysis. So Emergency Services has provided a list of those accounts, so those bills go out monthly or at time of service, and typically insurance pays what insurance is gonna pay, and then if you've got any co-pays or anything like that that you're supposed to pay for your services, you're to pay those. If you choose not to, they typically go to collections. At collection time, the collection agency tries their best, and it runs that period of time, and/or and if a patient were to pass, which is unfortunate, or file bankruptcy, then those are required to be written off. So that's what's been presented to you all this evening. As far as the emergency services bills, there's 145 of those accounts that meet that qualification, that total that $46,947.69. Utility services runs the same gamut. We send bills out monthly, as you all know. And if you choose to leave and don't pay your bill, again, you're sent to collections. We try to collect that money. If you're a homeowner, we may be able to file a lien against your home before it sells. And if you were to pass or to file bankruptcy, again, those are required to be written off. And so those accounts are, again, 5 years or older, because the statute of limitations basically says that we can't collect anything that's more than 5 years old that's not secured by some sort of asset. And so that's what has been presented. There's a total of 1,288 of those. Combined services, remember, it's water, sewer, electric, trash services, for a total of $434,672.14. So those, that's a pretty significant number, but when you divide it out by 1,200 accounts, it's a little over $300 on average. They range from 3 cents to $7,000. There's nothing there that's more than $15,000, so we don't have to individualize those. If there were, then those would come to you individually as to be addressed, because we don't have, the city administrator doesn't have that authority. But just as, because it hits the accounts, those enterprise funds pretty significantly, so that's gonna show up in the balance sheet is the reason why those are brought forward for board approval. I think the attorneys recommended a resolution in the future, but with tonight's, a motion to pass this write-off will happen. We've talked about it at state audit, we've talked about it pretty significantly last year with the new auditors on our annual audit. He's like, why are you not writing these accounts off? They're not collectible, you've obviously gone through your due diligence to try to collect these accounts, and it's not possible. We've not addressed the community center pieces yet, and those will be reviewed also. And so going forward, this will happen on an annual basis, it's just being part of operations with the policy adoption by the board. But
I think it's a great idea.
I'll entertain questions. I can answer what I can answer. Most of this falls under our privacy rules, so I can't get into a lot of specifics, but.
Do we have anything in place that if you have a particular family, that we're going to write them off? Is there anything down the road that blocks them from being able to get accounts again? Do we have anything like that in place? Is that something maybe we need to look at thinking about?
No,
I mean, I know another family member can put it in their name, but.
Right, and we play that game on a regular basis where, Joe can't do it, but Jim comes along and puts it in his name. And, the ordinance states that if you're a resident and an adult residing in the home, you're responsible for those bills. Those are pretty specific for the utilities. They also tell you that if you leave and you come back 6 months, year, 3 years, 5 years, actually whenever, and we can still identify that as a debt, the ordinances state that you're to pay that debt before you are to be allowed services again.
I have suggested, and Happy and I talked about this, once I saw this, I think it would be worthwhile for the Happy to work on the policy. It looks like they're doing their due diligence, but probably establishing a policy that says what that due diligence is, and maybe even addresses some of the questions that you all may have, would probably be the best thing to do. That would give the staff better direction, and at the same time, make it look like, hey, we've got this procedure. I think the auditor would prefer that in the long run, but since we're close to the end of the year, we're just not in a position to maybe get that done before this action needs to take place.
Well, I think staff appreciates the fact that they can say they're just enforcing the policy.
Right, that's another good reason to do it.
I thought we had made a rule that they put up deposits if they didn't pay, that we put their deposit in, and then if they didn't pay, their deposit increased. So some of these accounts, how did they get past the deposit or shut-offs? Or turned back on?
They weren't necessarily turned back on, they were shut off maybe for non-pay, and the deposits were applied to the accounts.
But it wasn't enough to cover the
But
bills?
remember that it's 60 days later before you're shut off, so a perfect example is bills were due November the 1st, and for your services that were actually done between September and October, it's not due till November 1st, you don't choose to pay that until the 26th, or you don't choose to pay that at all. You've got that bill from September to October, and October to November, clear up to November the 26th. So you've got a good 70 to 80 days worth of services before you even realize this person's gone, as much as we try to, rely on field staff to let us know, and our landlords, to say, hey, this person's gone. And that's one reason why we turn them over to collections pretty quickly, to try to at least acquire that money. But a lot of times when you're gone, and it's hard to track you down because you move pretty frequently.
And this number, this 1288 is something that built over time. It's not
Yes.
this isn't a annual, so every year we have 1,200 people that fall on this
Right.
list. This will be a much lower number next year because we will make it an annual, and
Right.
the impact is a lot
Yeah,
less.
so these run back to 2004 and before. I
So
mean,
they
with the
are.
new system, when they put in the new billing system back in 2004 and 2005, that's when a lot of these, you know, some of them are written off, but some of those accounts are that old. And so it's pretty significant this time, and that's another reason why I think it needs board action for sure, to know that, you know, it's a pretty good dollar amount, even though it affects all three funds, so.
Any other questions? This just passes as you would a resolution.
I think you just, there could be just an oral motion
Okay.
to give staff authority to do it, and then second it and vote on it.
Okay, and I make a motion to, how do I say it, emergency services and utility account, write-off, I make a motion
As
that we do that.
recommended by staff.
Approve
Yeah,
approve staff
recommended
to
by
do that.
staff.
Okay. I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Milner to approve staff to move forward with the emergency services and utility account write-offs. Is there any further discussion?
Does that motion include giving direction to the city administrator to develop a policy? Or does that need to be a separate motion?
I don't know that you need to necessarily, I think he understands that from the discussion, and
That'll come
and
back.
he'll put something together and we'll work on it together.
And actually approve an actual policy, so.
Right,
Okay.
we'll bring it back.
This-
The idea would bring it back to the board in the future.
So this is kind of a one-shot deal here, and
Yeah.
then we'll come back to the policy. Okay,
Right.
very good. All right, any other questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? All right,
Thank you.
you bet. Next, we have Council Bill 75.
First reading, Council Bill 75, an ordinance amending the operating budget for the city of Harrisonville, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2018, and establishing an effective date.
Good morning again.
Good morning again. Good evening. So presented this evening is the fiscal year 2018 budget amendment. We go through a process at this point in time and do reviews of the entire funds to make sure that we don't anticipate any expenditures going over for that particular fund. And we've done really well this year, hoping that we would do just one amendment is my goal at mid-year or towards, you know, the latter part of mid-year. But the aquatic center, you know, this year was nice and hot and dry and sunny, and so the outdoor pool, you know, did a really better than anticipated year in revenue, and consequently, because of that, you also have more expenses, you know, in relationship with that. So that is the primary piece to this, is an additional $7,000 authorized for the aquatic center for the outdoor pool. And if you will recall, we zeroed the budget as far as the debts, or the sales tax fund, which was collected that sales tax and then transferred to make the debt for the park specifically in this last year. So to allow the electronic systems to work like they're supposed to, we really need to make a final transfer of fund balance that's left in, you know, Fund 12. And so that's what the $134,000, so we've done a reconciliation, we've ensured that all the money that was collected and put in that fund for public safety has been transferred out, all the EATS payments have been made, and the remaining money that's left in that account actually belongs to the Parks Division, includes interest earnings and some other things, but that amount is the exact amount of the audited fund balance for 2017. So by doing this, that allows us to make that transfer and not go over budget, you know, which is FUBAR by law. We don't want to do that. So that will happen as the purposes for this. So the additional $7,000 and then the $134,621 for the debt to send to the community center that was collected in sales tax is the basic change. Questions?
Any questions? I say, this is one that unless there's an issue, I would recommend moving to a
I make a
second
motion that
reading.
we move Council Bill 75 to a second reading.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Long to suspend the ruling on Council Bill 75 and move it to a second reading. Is there any further discussion? I'll need a roll call, please.
Alderman Dickerson.
Aye.
Alderman Levison.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Long. Aye. Alderman Bowman.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
And Alderman Bachman.
Aye.
All right, second reading, please.
Second reading, Council Bill 75, an ordinance amending the operating budget for the city of Harrisonville, Missouri for the fiscal year January 1, 2018 through December 31, 2018, and establishing an effective date.
Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Long.
Aye.
Alderman Bowman.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Bachman. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Levison.
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson.
Aye.
And Council Bill 75 will become ordinance 03454. Council Bill 76.
First reading, Council Bill 76, an ordinance approving a contract addendum to the agreement for police services between the city of Harrisonville and the Harrisonville Cass R9 School District, authorizing the city administrator to sign the addendum and establishing an effective date.
So we have our two SROs that are at the high school and middle school. The school would like to have one of the officers present at one of the elementary schools at the end of the day. That would require an extra hour to an hour and a half of their, of work, because they're only there for eight and a half hours. So to do that, we did not have built into the contract anything for overtime. So this will preclude that after they work 42 hours in a week, they get overtime for those extra hours. Because it'll end up being probably 46 to 48 hours a week. So with that in mind, we needed to amend the contract. This is the language that their attorneys drafted. The board has signed off on it. We've reviewed it. We've agreed to it, and bring it forward to the board to vote yes or no, whether to amend that contract or not.
Okay, any questions?
I move Council Bill 76 to its second reading.
Second.
I have a motion from Alderman Dickerson and a second from Alderman Milner to suspend the ruling on Council Bill 76 and move it to a second reading. Is there any further discussion? I will need a roll call, please.
Alderman Turner.
Aye.
Alderman Bachman. Alderman Long.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Bowman.
Aye.
Alderman Dickerson.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Levison.
Aye.
Second reading, please.
Second reading, Council Bill 76, an ordinance approving a contract addendum to the agreement for police services between the city of Harrisonville and the Harrisonville Cass R9 School District, authorizing the city administrator to sign the addendum and establishing an effective date.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Dickerson.
Aye.
Alderman Levison.
Aye.
Alderman Reese.
Aye.
Alderman Milner.
Aye.
Alderman Bowman.
Aye.
Alderman Long.
Aye.
Alderman Bachman. Alderman Turner.
Aye.
And Council Bill 76 will become ordinance 03455. That is it for our agenda items tonight. Alderman committee reports. Alderman Bowman.
Thank you, Mayor. Since we're speaking to the board, there's no one in the audience. except
Oh, wait a minute.
Clint.
Oh, my.
Just the camera guy.
Smile, you're on camera,
Yeah.
right? Christmas on the Square, Saturday. There's just a lot of exciting things going on in the square, and I would just encourage everybody in the room. I think most of us will be there to participate, so it's hard to believe that Christmas is here, but it's on us. So I hope to see everybody on the square on Saturday. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Bachman. Alderman Reese.
No.
Alderman Milner.
Also on Saturday, we have the Bright Futures Holiday Store. So feel free to come and volunteer your time if you want. We need a lot of personal shoppers. But also if you have any of your goodies that you have found that you just can't live without them, please send them our way.
You can bring them that day even.
You could, no, actually, we need them before Friday. The middle school, right after their last lunch shift, which is like at 11:15, I think, the middle school kids will start setting up the room.
Okay.
And so it will be pretty much done by Friday,
Okay.
if not early Saturday morning.
Okay,
So
very
you
good.
can drop them off at really any of the schools, or you can bring them over to central office, and we'll take them from there.
All right, very good. Alderman Dickerson.
Nothing.
Alderman Long. No, oh, good. Alderman Turner.
Good.
Levison.
I got to go to the DARE graduation tonight. That's why I was running late. See your daughter. And that was really neat. And they did Officer Jacobs and Officer Matthews were there, and they do a great job with the students there over at McEwen, and they acknowledged their thankfulness for us as a board, you as a mayor, and you know, our support of them and what they do. So it was a fun time for all.
They do a good job.
Yeah,
They do a good job. All right.
that's it.
All right. Mr. Welch?
Just an update on item number one. The report that I issued is that the state audit will be released at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So you should have received an email ahead of time to let you know that. If not, then let me know after 10 tomorrow, we'll get your copy. We'll probably look at it first, and then we'll put it up on the website, on Facebook. And that's it.
All right. Well, a couple of my items already nailed there. The Christmas on the Square, obviously we're planning to be there. We'll have the lighting of the Christmas tree, which is always fun because we get usually there's a good group of kids that get to throw the switch. I think it's funner to watch them throw the switch than have somebody else throw it, so that's always a good time. Yeah, the state audit, I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes out. I have a feeling we're going to get much more positive news than we got the last time the auditors were here. I want to commend staff for all the long hours and hard work they put into addressing the issues. We've had to do all this in addition to still running the city, and Mr. Fairfield, I know you've put some time in, and it's much appreciated. So looking forward to seeing what we get from that. We could use some good positive information from that. Then the last week's Love the Square Town Hall meeting, I think we had a great turnout. We had, over 100 people show up. So a lot of people interested in seeing their square come back to life. It was interesting to listen to the gentleman talk about the process and how you kind of start off with baby steps and short-term goals, and I think that that's a good approach, because I think when you are facing challenges, it's good to not take the whole thing in one bite. Try to take it in small pieces, and that kind of seems to be their approach. So so we're started. We're underway with our Main Street process, which is the infancy stage. But hey, at least we started it. So now it's up to us all to make it happen. So that's all I had this evening. I hope everybody has a good holiday. We'll be here Monday, the 10th, for a short meeting, and then that'll be it for the year. So.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Motion from Alderman Dickerson, second from Alderman Long. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.